when I started, I think, to be honest, my whole journey with like my own style started probably when I turned 18,
Mm-hmm.
because before that, so growing up in a religious Latin American household, I was always dressed in a very masculine, conservative kind of way, anyways. And even when I kind of came out, I still had that same mentality. And I think it was when I first got my job in a fashion shop that um, I kind of started to see things. And even it was quite funny. So the first time I started working, I was working for H&M, and they had this collaboration with Moschino.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the first time that I even ever looked at fashion in as anything more than a necessity.
Yeah.
And I spent, I think, like 3 paychecks on the collection. I bought everything. I bought the whole collection. And I think from there onwards, I kind of been in and out with fashion. I I wouldn't really say that I follow fashion trends, but I always seem to kind of be in and out of them because obviously I work with fashion, so
Yeah.
I kind of find myself hooked in it more than actually following it. But I don't really look for it on Instagram or that kind of stuff anyways. I just kind of find myself in the middle of it. Um and then yeah, and when I started working and I started experiencing other people that were more liberated with their fashion, I I then decided I wanted to experiment as well with what I wore and the way that I expressed myself through fashion. And that was when I started to wear more colorful prints, more floral and this and that. And I'm not gonna lie, like I love just the transformation and being able to see it so clear, like after the years. And yeah, it's gotten to a point now where I literally feel comfortable wearing pretty much anything. But it's yeah.
I mean, second question, I think you already kind of answered it because it's how did you get comfortable expressing yourself and going kind of against the norm? So like what society is kind of imposing to people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I think it was through my job, but at the same time it was and it wasn't. Like I the thing with me, I've always coming, like with my mom, she's always had an activist side. So she's always, like gone to protests and things like that. And it's hilarious because I've always been against fast fashion and I found myself working for a fast fashion chain. And I'm not gonna lie, I feel like the enemy within because I, like I see that they're saying things and they're not, I won't mention the company's name, but I see that they're saying things that they do and they don't. And that's, I think, kind of what pushed me even further to not want to follow fashion trends. Because, for an example, with that Moschino collection, I must have spent, I know for sure that I spent over £1,000 on everything that I bought. And within 3 months, I was done with it. I didn't feel like wearing it anymore. And I just realized how toxic the whole industry is and how fashion can be a liberation for some people, but it can trap other people. So that was kind of what made me not really want to fit in and not really want to be a part of that, and to just kind of find my own thing and find my own style and find my own identity through fashion. And another thing that's also kind of made me want to do that is the fact that I've always loved to thrift. I've never really loved to thrift clothes before, but I used to always thrift like cameras and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
eventually it just built into clothes as well. So it's, yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I have to admit, I found it like really different thrifting here in London. That I'm used to like thrifting Milan or like northern Italy. Like the whole concept of it is really different. So I don't know, not in a bad way, just in like, I mean, it's different because you guys here have like charity shops and all of that. So,
Yeah.
like you have way more like accessibility to it. Because like in Italy, maybe it's like 5 shop per city or things like that. Like here, you have them in every road and things like that. So
Yeah, definitely. I think a good thing about the UK compared to other countries in terms of thrifting is the fact that you have charity shops
yeah,
which are not focused on the whole, oh, these items are pre-used, they're vintage, they're retro, whatever. They're just there. And most of the time, the people working in those charity shops, which I was once, they don't know the prices of the stuff. So I did when I worked. So, when I saw Dolce Gabbana or whatever, I knew that that was expensive. But the people pricing it who worked with me, who were like 70, 80-year-old, they didn't know. So, they would put like a Dolce Gabbana suit for like £5. And it's like, okay, so because, yeah, you are right. In Brazil as well, you're not going to find any of these kinds of shops. All you're going to find is like retro vintage shops, which don't even have brands most of the time. Most of the time, it's even like unbranded clothes, but they're like, oh, it's a retro corduroy trousers. It's 200 reals, 300 reals, which it's very expensive. So yeah, it's a much I think it's a much more welcoming um experience for people who do want to be more sustainable in fashion.
yeah, for sure. And the other question was, did you ever, when did you see yourself represented in the industry, like reflected to like a campaign or like somebody in the specific, if that ever happened? Because sometimes it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm to be honest, I don't know if I've ever felt represented in the industry. I think the industry likes to paint pictures of certain people. They have their ideal, they have their handful of people. They have like their probably what, 20, 30 people, which
Yeah,
include people of color, people of different genders, people of different sexualities, of course, but they have the idea. So like a gay male person, which for the industry is what I would fit in, would probably be a white, middle-aged gay person. They have that whole, a bit femme, this and that. They have that whole picture of what it means to be that person. And I wouldn't say I necessarily fit into that. And therefore, I don't really think I've ever seen like a campaign or something where I've been like, yeah, I can relate to that.
yeah, because
So
a
yeah,
lot of the time it's like maybe like they have like one type of diversity, like maybe it's a plus size person, but it's like a white woman. Like there's no like male counterpart, like
yes,
race counterpart. It's just like one part of diversity and not like
exactly.
a really diverse person.
Exactly. It's almost as if, like, for every campaign, they pick, okay, we've lacked in this last time, we'll make up for this, but then everyone else is just going to be average. So, yeah.
And last question, I mean, what changes would you like to see in representation in like either short term, like long term, in like, I mean, media in general, but like fashion and campaigns and all of that?
I think for fashion, especially, I think I would like to see more everyday people
Mhm.
in there and actual real people. So instead of, I don't know, I just feel like there is something very patronizing about the way that that you always see the same kind of people.
Yeah.
It's always the same faces, and you're like, okay. And especially nowadays, one thing that's kind of annoyed me about media overall nowadays is the kind of the way that it's really been pushing wealth, and it's really been pushing the kind of ostentatious lifestyle upon people. And obviously with fashion, especially fast fashion, they want to sell, so they kind of feed into that. And for me, it's like, yeah, but it's not a realistic and it's not a sustainable way to kind of go forward in life. So I think I would like to see more, like, something that's a bit more laid back, something where, like maybe you can have mistakes, or you can have a person who's not famous doing a campaign. And yeah, like, I think, yeah, just
Yeah.
more real people, more realness in the industry. I think that would be, I don't think that would be a lot to ask for.
No, I don't think. Because I mean, yeah, I really started noticing this thing. Like now there's more like, I mean, more, not like exceptional, like plus size awareness is always like,
Mm,
it's either like a size 4 or like a size 16, like nothing in between, which is like what most of the
exactly,
people are.
exactly. Or like, so like, for an example, a company that I know quite a lot about, which is H&M.
Mhm.
Um, they on their, even on their website, they have influencers,
Mhm.
and they've got, like, for every item you buy, they don't have, like, an average person takes a picture and posts it, then whatever. They have their influencers who then style the clothes. And I just think that, like, it's really, really bad, especially because of the way that youth culture is going nowadays, and they're really already being pulled by that. And I
Yeah.
think people just need to realize and just kind of step back a bit and be like, okay, this is not good. It's not good that people have so much influence over these people, and that the industry is feeding into that.
Yeah.
I think if anything, the industry should be, using the power that they have to just kind of be like, okay, you know, time for people to be a bit more individual and have, but I think it is something that hopefully will eventually happen. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's just gotta take
Cool.
some time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, because like considering, I mean, since like we were born, there's been like really huge steps forward, which of course is something good, but also at the same time feel like nothing has changed.
Yes, exactly. It's like, I mean, yeah, we talk now about, for an example, plus size positivity, but it's it always becomes a selling point.
Yeah,
That's the problem. I think everything just always becomes a selling point, and that is the problem. So plus size positivity is something that is really, really good, but when does it become, when does it stop it making people, sorry, I would just start again. When does it stop giving people, like, mental health problems, so depression and stuff, because of the size? Or when does it become a selling point, almost to the point where people want, like, it goes from one extreme to the other? So it goes from making um plus size people feel bad for their size, to making skinny people create an eating disorder in order to get to that size.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that that's what the industry does. The industry kind of gets in people's minds to such a degree where it literally becomes to a point where you're just trading, at that point you're just trading mental illnesses for mental illnesses because of the industry. And it's literally problems that are just being created
Mhm.
by the fashion industry itself. So, it goes from having people who were severely anorexic in the 90s to now almost, kind of pushing for that. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, kind of like can never fit in what like the body shape or whatever it is that is trendy. It's
Exactly.
unattainable.
Exactly. It's like, I was speaking to this girl that I work with, and she was saying to me, oh, like anyone wearing anything that is skinny, you know, like skinny is cancelled. So now it's all like either mom jeans or loose fits. And then she was telling me that she was very frustrated at that because you know, she's a bit overweight, and she said she doesn't look good in anything like that. And that is what I said, like, but if you don't feel good wearing something, why, you know, and why would you do it? But it's at that point where the industry has more control over you than
Yeah.
you yourself. And I think that that is where it literally becomes toxic.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm done with the questions. If you have anything
Okay.
else to add, otherwise.
Wow.
Well, okay then. Thank you for. Well, I'm
Okay.
gonna stop recording, so I don't have like